fought until the bitter end after being beaten and left for dead in Livermore, naming her attackers before taking her final breath.
Tonight we are seeing the face of the Tracy woman who was beaten and left for dead at just 19 years old.
There's a female crawling on the road. She's missing an arm and she's bloody. Some units responding to this 1179. Another passing motorist is advising the x-ray appears to have been stabbed in the throat. Negative suspect 97. And units responding to this 1179 on Tesla, just be advised, female's described as short blonde hair with a black tank top and army pants.
1953, X-ray is breathing, unknown if conscious or not.
53, just confirm you said slice marks to the neck? 10-4.
Dispatchers received a 911 call about 2 AM on the 12th of February 2018. It was about a woman that was missing an arm and laying in the middle of Tesla Road, a remote, hilly road northeast of San Jose. First responders arrived and it was clear someone had stabbed a 19-year-old lady and just simply left her for dead. But there was one thing, she wasn't. She wasn't missing an arm either, but she was definitely in bad shape and losing blood fast due to multiple stab and slash wounds. She was likely out there on this dark night, far away from anyone, all alone for a few hours, whilst she dragged herself 100 meters off the road and onto the path, until eventually someone found her and called it in. She was immediately airlifted to the nearest advanced trauma centre in an effort to be saved, but sadly she passed away in the early hours of the morning. Before she passed away, she was able to give investigators seminal evidence, a dying declaration that could send the couple suspected of killing her to prison for the rest of their lives. Lizette Andrea Cuesta studied at San Jose City College, loved to skateboard and was a loving member of her family. Just aged 19 at the time of her death, the teen was the oldest of 3 siblings and leaves behind a brother and sister. She was a lovable person and very smart, Lizette's auntie, Miss Lopez, says. She never judged people and was always friendly to everyone. She grew up in San Jose but had recently moved to live with her father in Tracy, California, and was settling in well by all accounts. She had a job at Carl's Jr. and many people knew her and liked her at work, as well as the skate park she frequented, where a vigil would be later held in her memory. She didn't seem like the sort of person who would end up in the news for anything bad, which made the events I'm about to tell you even harder for everyone to accept. Richard Lordholt was carpooling to an early shift at UPS with 3 friends when he spotted a bloodied woman at the side of the road. The group pulled over and immediately saw the carnage. They called the authorities right away, but they had actually already been called by a lady who didn't want to stop due to fear for her safety and the fact that it was a really remote area, so the cell coverage was bad, sometimes to the point where it was entirely dark in some places. So she carried on to a spot where calls could be made. The group covered Lizette in a blanket and prayed with her to keep her awake and talking until officials arrived.
Well, she just said that, she felt like she was going to die. And I was like, no, you're not. You're not going to. You're going to fight. You're going to sit up. You're not going to lay down, and you're going to be all right. And as that was said, she got up. She sat back up, and she at least held on, until emergency support got there.
It was 2 AM Monday morning on a remote, hilly, 2-lane road in Livermore, northeast of San Jose in California's Bay Area, in the Coral Hollow Pass. She had been stabbed multiple times and possibly thrown out of her vehicle, authorities say. But against all odds, Lizette clung to life for hours and crawled nearly 100 meters to get where passing motorists could see her. Before she did, she told first responders the names of her alleged attackers. All 3 witnesses also said that they clearly remembered her saying the name Melissa Leonardo. Lizette was in such a dire state that the first responders quickly deployed a life flight helicopter to take her to Eden Medical Center, where she sadly passed away a few hours after the attack. The scene indicates Lizette was probably attacked on the road turnout on the westbound side, mortally wounded, and crawled east before she was found by motorists who stopped to help. It was most likely hours after she was attacked that she was found and taken to hospital, due to it being a remote area in the middle of the night. She remained alive for about 2 more hours. While it was not enough time for her family to see her before she died, the 19-year-old was able to tell authorities who was responsible for her death.
Her internal fortitude to stay alive and to fight is pretty remarkable. This young woman clung to life when she was left for dead and was able to live for another couple hours and get us that information. Ultimately, that led us to these arrests.
Just hours after Lizette passed away, authorities arrested 19-year-old Daniel Gross and 25-year-old Melissa Leonardo in Modesto, California, about 50 miles away from where Lizette was attacked. They were being held in Santa Rita jail on suspicion of murder, and more info started to come out.
We know the three were friends, and Lizette got into the car consensually that night. The two suspects are in a relationship and live together, but we're still gathering information as to why this happened.
Gross, Leonardo and Lizette all worked together at Carl's Jr. restaurant in Tracy. There was substantial evidence left at the crime scene, and investigators believe Lizette had been tied up. In a surprise twist, defendant Gross pleaded guilty as charged to Lizette's murder in May 2018. He didn't take a plea deal or negotiation with prosecutors, but agreed to plead guilty to 1 count of murder and admitted 2 enhancements of use of a deadly weapon and great bodily injury. According to a court transcript, Gross simply said, "Guilty, Your Honour." Since Gross did not plead to a specific murder degree, first or second degree murder, he could still face a jury trial to determine what degree of murder he committed. He faces 16 years to life in prison on a second-degree murder charge and 26 years to life in prison if convicted of first-degree murder. This would be the first official guilty plea, but Gross had already admitted to his guilt in an interview with KTVU in February after his arrest. From jail, Gross told a reporter for KTVU, a Fox News affiliate, that he had actually had intercourse with Lizette in the car while Leonardo drove, which doesn't make any sense at all. Gross said he and Lizette were later standing outside the vehicle when she elbowed him in the ribs and he just snapped. "It just happened like this," he said, snapping his fingers for reporters. "I didn't plan to do this at all. I hate myself, you know. I wish I could go back in time and this just never happened." These claims are unsubstantiated, but Gross said he, Leonardo and Lizette worked together at the Carl's Jr.'s, which was true. The knife used in the crime, David Gross alleges, he had given to Lizette for protection. He also told the reporter that the three of them had smoked marijuana in the car that night, and that Leonardo had nothing to do with the violence. It's still unclear if he was telling the truth. A motion had been made by Leonardo's defence to not include Lizette's dying declaration, but Judge Gaffey denied the request. In the legal world, a dying declaration is a statement made by someone who believes they will be dead soon. I mean, go figure. Interestingly, it's an exception to the legal rule forbidding hearsay in court testimony, and it can hold tremendous sway in a case. I suppose you have nothing to lie for if you're not going to be around much longer. Either way, it's a good thing that in this case it was used, because it's likely that without this testimony the arrests would have been made much later, I mean, if at all. Thank you for watching the video right to the end. I want to sign this video off just by saying rest in peace to Lizette, and an extra special thank you to my supporters. I really couldn't do this without them, so big shout out to everybody that supports me on Ko-fi, on Patreon, comes to my live streams and generally just encourages me and kind of has given me the confidence to even start editing in the first place, which was a while back now. I don't really think I can say I'm new to editing no more, but thank you for watching. I will stop rambling too much. This is why I live stream. Take care of yourself out there. Peace.